Picture this. You're going up, up, up on a cable car. And as you are floating up, 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 you see mountains and beaches and bays and big Christ Corcovado statue up on top of the hill. And you're like, wow, this is one of the most spectacular cities I've ever seen in the whole world. And I thought to myself, yes, Jen, stay here. Live here. Base yourself here for the next 6 months. Teach English here. Yes, do it. Oh my God. I did. In that exact moment, I decided as I was going up in one of these cable cars that this would be my home for the next 6 months. Osadagi Maravilloso, the marvelous city. It was April 2006 and I had just turned 26 years old. And this was the exact moment I would stop traveling, park myself here in Rio de Janeiro and live for the next 2 years. This was also the place where I had an epiphany, which caused me to shift my entire world view and find my life's purpose. But more about that later. For now, I want to talk to you about our world, and specifically the role that our children can play in the challenges facing us globally and locally. And yes, I do need to share some alarming statistics with you to start with. Apologies for doing that on a bright and early morning. Even the door's like, oh, bugger this. But I promise to provide some hope too. Challenges are becoming a norm for us, aren't they? I mean, since January, we've had terrible bushfires affecting the whole of Australia. Then we had the global pandemic, coronavirus hit, and is still with us. Then it was the racial Black Lives Movement, and now the recession. It just doesn't seem to end, does it? Did you know that according to the Global Policy Watch, a report about the effects of the coronavirus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, dated 18th of June 2020, that as a result of the coronavirus, poverty is rising for the first time in 30 years. I was even more concerned when the head of the United Nations World Food Programme warned that due to COVID, famines of biblical proportions with 250 million people could suffer acute starvation by the end of 2020. And in regards to climate change, that if we don't find a solution to rising carbon dioxide emissions, a raise in global temperatures of even 1.5%, that rising sea levels could impact 1 billion people by the year 2050. Heat waves every 5 years will affect 1 billion people. We will see many more extreme storms, floods, and bushfires caused by droughts, and more than 1 million species at risk of extinction, such as penguins and polar bears, as the Arctic becomes ice-free every 5 years. Depressing, right? I'm sorry, but the doom and gloom doesn't stop there. Sorry. The problem for us is that these global challenges that used to be out there are now facing us locally here. As we've just experienced with COVID and the recent horrific bushfires, we are now being affected directly. It's not just out there anymore. And my question to you today is, how are our youth going to cope with these unprecedented challenges, even when our leaders are finding it tough? And is there something we can do to help them? Our poor youth, they're already struggling. As we can see with the number of young Australians experiencing mental health concerns, which has increased significantly just over the past 7 years. The latest 2019 Joint Youth Mental Report by Mission Australia and the Black Dog Institute said 1 in 4 young people is now experiencing mental health challenges. For the 3rd year running in 2019, the top 3 issues concerning our youth were 1, mental health, 2, the environment, and 3, equity discrimination. We can all see how these challenges are affecting our youth. Who here has kids? Compounded by social media, they are the first generation to carry the weight of their problems in the palm of their hand. With the future less than certain, employability will become a key concern. Financial analysts have said that it will take at least 30 years to work down the likely $1 trillion government debt load, since the pandemic just caused Australia's economy to crash into recession for the first time in almost 30 years. These problems, in addition to the increased anxiety, depression and frustration by the lack of action around climate change, no wonder our youth just want to switch off and disconnect from the bigger issues with growing apathy and despondency. Who can blame them? I sometimes want to switch up too. But it can be different. Okay guys, enough of the doom and gloom. Take a deep breath with me. As I share with you what I believe to be the solution to these challenges, and that is by developing socially responsible leadership skills in our youth. You see, I believe we need to develop our youth to be prepared to be able to deal with these challenges, to be empowered to create positive social change. And by developing socially responsible leadership skills, and what I mean by that is by teaching kids how to take action when they care about issues bigger than themselves, like bullying, racism, climate change, or wanting to make things fairer or more just or more equal, like the Malala Yousafzais and Greta Thunbergs of the world. We can empower our kids to take action and make real difference, which also builds up their resilience. Creating resilient youth who are connected to the community and to each other, where they feel they have an important mission to make things better, will also improve the well-being of our youth. As you can see, everyone turn your phones off. Developing our youth with these skills helps to solve the problems I mentioned. 1, tackling community challenges. 2, developing socially responsible leaders. 3, building resilience, engagement and purpose in our teams, thereby reducing mental health concerns. It's a win for all. I've seen firsthand the increased motivation, growth in self-confidence, improved social connection, and passion for purpose when connected to a cause bigger than themselves. And there's the definite possibility that your team can be like this too. The reason I know this is possible, and the reason I'm driven to do this, is because this was me. Let me share with you a part of my journey of how I went from being selfish, private school, teenage brat, to on a mission to make a positive difference in the world. My life began in Hong Kong, where my parents, who were both from Adelaide, were working as expats. I lived the first 7 years of my life there before moving to Australia, and was raised mainly by a Filipino maid called an ama, which meant that I didn't even know how to tie my own shoelaces when I moved to Australia when I was 7. I learned that my parents were excellent at outsourcing their parenting. When I was 12, I was living in Adelaide when my mother tragically died of a brain tumour. And we moved to Perth to live with my father. But his house was too small for us all. So instead of buying a bigger house, he wanted to buy a new house. But the neighbours weren't wanting to sell. No one in the street was willing to sell. And so the closest house my father found was around the corner from him. That was his house. That was our house. I was 12. My brother was 10. And Dad found an Asian local English student, an international student from the local university to come and live with us so that every night there would be adult supervision in the house. Yes, it's a very bizarre and unconventional story and one to drink some wine over another time, okay? It's totally bizarre, it's totally bizarre. I'm so used to saying it, but it is a freaking bizarre story. But what I have come to terms with about my father and how he only knew how to parent us from arm's length is that by putting me in my own house, he was trying to teach me how to be responsible, independent and self-sufficient. Just way too early. By the time I was 18, I was a typical spoiled, selfish private school teen, where all I thought about were boys and parties. Well, my father fixed that, didn't he? By buying me a round the world ticket and saying, "You're an adult now. Go see the world and don't ask for another dime." He then sold the house, put all my belongings into boxes, so it was literally up to me to fend for myself in this big wide world. Before heading overseas, I was working as a porter at a hotel. I'll never forget one afternoon as my intense shift of lugging bags was almost over, and then a wedding party arrived, and my face just dropped because, wedding party means lots and lots and lots of bags. And my manager was like, "Oh, can you go and tend to that, Jen?" And I must have protested, like the look on my face must have been like that. And he said, "Good luck. You're going to go and study hotel management at hotel school. Good luck. You're not made for hospitality." Well, that certainly hit a nerve. The following year, after my travels, I was studying hotel management at a magnificent monastery overlooking Manly Beach. And I was president of the student committee, and I got a part scholarship because I had a high GPA, grade point average, and I think because of him, I never worked so hard in my life. So I thank him actually for giving me that, encouragement. The following year, I was very, very, very fortunate to complete the second year of my hotel management studies at the sister hotel in Switzerland, on the shores of Lake Genevieve. And I was in a bar celebrating Valentine's Day. The bar was just down here, that's the school. One night, celebrating Valentine's Day, when another student ran up to me, puffing, to tell me that there was an urgent phone call. And I'd never run so fast in my life back to that hotel school to pick up the phone. And it was my uncle on the phone saying, "Genevieve, I'm so sorry to tell you this. Your father just passed." It was 2 months before my 21st birthday. It was then that I realised that my father seemed to have sensed what was coming and had prepared me so well by teaching me how to be independent. And I also learned the hard way that life is short, precious, and so I better make it worthwhile. So I came to live by the motto, live life extraordinary. Finishing my studies in hotel management, I worked my way up in 5-star hotels, aiming to be the best of the best. in customer service, and I got a job on board Crystal Serenity, the most luxurious cruise ship in the world, serving the richest echelons of society. Now that was a funny story, because I arrived at the port to join the ship for the first time in Miami, and it's like a city of cruise ships. You never see anything so bizarre because they're all just there, all of them lined up one after another, you know, like a bus depot but of cruise ships. And there was my beauty, and I rocked up and I had 5 suitcases with me. And it was like, woohoo, this is going to be, you know, like a journey around the world and a little bit of work thrown in. Yeah, what was I on? So I rocked up with these 5 suitcases, no one there to help me, no porters to help me. So I had to carry those suitcases one by one, you know, very embarrassing, very embarrassing. And then my supervisor, you know, escorted me to my room. Do you know the size of my room was probably about this big? It was like a matchbox, and it was like down under here somewhere. It was like a rat in a maze. And I rocked up to this room, and my suitcase was piled up in the room. What the hell? This is not what I was expecting. Nobody told me this. And then they were like, oh, by the way, you're going to be working this afternoon, so you better go get your uniform. And so my uniform for that afternoon, because I was working in the bar at the beginning, and my uniform was this 1800s big puffy dress. Because my first shift that afternoon was working at Mozart's high tea. Welcome as a guest, welcome. Come, take a seat and have a cup of tea. Well, where am I? I totally lost my spot. I lost 10 kilos in 3 months. Suzanne, where are you? Just seeing people on a cruise ship. To work. And I lost, I should have had a before and after photo, because before I was a bit pudgy. And then after, I lost so much weight because I never worked so hard in my life. I was working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, without a day off for 3 months.
Wow. That's so long.
Yes. But then I got promoted to the front desk. And so that's why I was so fancy there. And yeah, it was a fabulous experience. But it was here on board that I learned that I could have all the riches and beautiful things in the world, because I did, but I felt lonely and I felt unfulfilled. And I was becoming as selfish and materialistic as the clients on board that cruise ship, sorry to say, and I didn't like the person I was becoming. So I decided to continue my life extraordinary and decided that I needed to spend time on land to really find myself. And so I travelled to South America, which is how I found myself floating up that cable car and finding the city and going, oh, yes, this is what I need. And after making that fateful decision to live here and paying, I moved out of the hotel I was in, and I paid for 1 month's rent up front at the hostel I was staying at, and I started applying for teaching English jobs. And within a month, I found a job teaching English, made some local friends at the English school that could, you know, Brazilians that could speak English, and they helped me to find an apartment. I love the Brazilian culture so much. The Brazilians are this melting pot mix of African with the Portuguese, with the indigenous. They are so sexy and passionate and fun. Oh, there was no need for glitzy jewellery, you just get it robbed anyway. Okay? As long as we had samba music, like that beautiful music I was playing before, and the cold beer and beach and sea, we were happy. I was happy. It was bliss. It was what I really, really, really needed. And one night, I was sitting in my apartment, drinking a beer, overlooking my $1 million view of the Christ statue, which is just off there, going, wow, Jen, you know, you've done pretty well for yourself. That's the view I have. and the sky was red and, you know, pink from the sunset. And I was drinking this beer thinking, wow, well done, Jen, did it. And I was on a phone call home to my granny, who was here in Adelaide, and I was updating her on my news of living in Brazil, but reassuring her that one day I would return home to Australia and probably need to return to work in 5-star hotels. And she was like, Genevieve, why would you want to serve those that can serve yourself? Serve themselves. But she had a point. And you see, this really hit home because I had always prided myself on being the best of the best in 5-star hotels. And I guess because of losing my parents at such a young age, I was highly impressionable. And so here was someone I highly respected, basically poo-pooing my whole career choice. And I thought I was doing well. And then it was the reality of this situation that I was in sunk home. You see, Rio has two faces. The beautiful face, the fabulous beaches, the mountains, the happy times I described. But it also has a very dark and ugly side too. The societal issues were extremely confronting. On every mountainside you see these favelas, which are shanty towns with thousands and thousands of people, many of whom are poor and uneducated. The corruption is rife, and the shanty towns are ruled by drug cartels who were extremely dangerous. I remember one occasion when the drug lords were in prison, had their bones confiscated because of some punishment for some reason, and in retaliation they ordered all their buddies on the outside to shoot any policeman that they saw on the streets. And I remember seeing cars with men inside with rifles and guns, and a lovely, lovely woman out in front of my apartment got shot by a stray bullet. And this was the reality of Brazil. There was a civil war going on, and my eyes got bigger and bigger as I lived there, and I could see this inequality and social injustice on a daily basis. I even had a whole family living on the street at the front of my apartment, and I mean pregnant mum and baby. And I just kept asking myself, like, how can this be? How can the governments and the people of Rio allow this? And what is so wrong with the people here that they just turn a blind eye and just accept it as normal? I then realised I couldn't turn a blind eye. And it became apparent that I needed to do something about it. And then I thought, I can combine some themes of my life to this cause. One, I was a global citizen, you know. I have travelled so much of this world, and I care deeply about humans and how we are all equal regardless of race and religion and monetary status. My father always wanted me to be a global citizen, and I was. I've seen the shanty towns in Africa, Asia, South America. I've seen the beggars in India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. I volunteered at an orphanage in the Philippines where kids work sifting through rubbish dumps for bits of recyclables that they can sell for a coin. Once you see these things, you can't unsee them. Leadership. My second thing was leadership. I've been a leader ever since I was 12 years old and had to live in my own house and how to cook and clean and take care of my brother. Plus, I naturally gravitated to positions of responsibility where I could represent others. I was president of 2 of the student councils I was at hotel school. And 3, service. I could still be the best of the best in service, but I could use my desire to be of service to the community, to serve those less fortunate than ourselves. It was an incredible moment in my life. And after 2 years in Rio, I felt the need to return home to Australia, to Melbourne, where I enrolled at Monash University to study a Masters of Education. which specialised in leadership, policy and change. In my spare time, I taught English to African refugees who became like extended family. And then I got the job of my dreams running a leadership program at Curtin University. But this wasn't just any leadership program. What was unique about these programs was that they are based on a social change model of leadership, which is what had drawn me to the job. This model views leadership as the responsibility to effect change on behalf of others, positive change, and states that leadership is a values-based and collaborative process. It recognises that all students are potential leaders and that service is a powerful vehicle for developing students' leadership skills. It was the answer I had been seeking, combining service with leadership with social change. Through action learning projects, the university students I worked with learned how to apply self, team and community leadership. Every semester, 30 students worked in teams to solve real community problems that local non-profit organisations were facing. Each group was assigned a mentor to support them, and we wanted to empower the students to make their own decisions, deal with conflicts, learn how to manage numerous stakeholders. This is how they were transformed. A close friend once described the programs I ran as being interventionist. That is, it can change the trajectory of someone's life. And in my opinion, the intervention isn't just for us as the individual, it can lead for a better direction for all of us. But certainly for many individuals, the transformations I witnessed were clear. Let me share some of the examples of past participants, first starting with a young man named Mohak. When I first met Mohak, he was so shy and timid, and he whispered when he spoke. I recalled him really wanting to succeed in the program, and he worked really hard for his project team, and he seemed to just sort of develop in front of our eyes. So much so that he got invited back to become a mentor. He also won a scholarship to attend Global Village, which is one of the eminent leadership programs in the US. Today, Mohak works as a consultant for Ernst & Young. And when he speaks, he exudes confidence and demands attention. When he returned to speak to our students a few years later about his experience abroad, I got goosebumps at the transformation from that quiet young man I met originally to this confident, self-assured leader he had become. You can see the look in his eyes. Another, but very different young man was called Robert Ferrito. He was so sure of himself to begin with that he didn't feel the need to prove himself to anyone. And he was knocked back the first time he applied. But he learned quickly that leadership is about supporting and lifting up others. And when he applied again, he got in, worked hard with his team project, and guess where he is today? He is studying a PhD at Oxford University on a Rhodes Scholarship.
Wow.
Aiming to change the lives of millions by developing solutions to the problem of clean drinking water, which is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. I genuinely feel if he hadn't have become a humbler person through the program, he wouldn't be the true leader he is today. There are so many more of these types of examples I could share with you where students would ring me and say, Jen, I got the job, or the placement, or the scholarship. And it wasn't surprising because through these programs, the students gained highly valuable and sought after skills which gave them a competitive advantage. And it was the work I was doing at Curtin where I found my ikigai. For those that don't know what that is, it's a Japanese expression which means reason for being. And it's where you combine what you love with what the world needs, with what you can be paid for, with what you're good at. And it was my passions of developing young people and wanting to make a difference with my skills in coaching and program management, with what the world needs, socially responsible young leaders, that what I can be paid for, leadership development. So why do I tell you all this? Because I want you to know that I went from being a spoiled, selfish teenager, disengaged from social issues and only interested in partying boys, to living my hero's journey and finding my purpose, traveling the world, learning that life is short and it better make it meaningful. Where I've come back to Australia, a wiser woman, determined to make a positive difference, which has led me to develop my own business, Spire Coaching, developing young leaders for a better world. I saw the amazing impact those social leadership programs made on the participants, how they grew in confidence and ability, but also the positive effects for the community. My business was born from the anger at watching all the problems facing us on TV, and just turning that anger into positive and productive action, to combine my skills and my passions to help improve some of the challenges facing us. I'm so incredibly excited and proud to tell you that I finally launched my Inspiring Teens program after COVID, mind you, maybe postpone it back in March. 14 teens from 12 high schools across Adelaide are now working on projects for non-profit organisations right now. We have the cystic fibrosis team. There's Piers, Sally's son. And they are making a video to raise awareness of cystic fibrosis that they're going to share in each of their schools. And you know, we've got Concordia, Scotch and Parafield Garden, so that's going to raise a lot of awareness for cystic fibrosis. We then have community justice, which is all about raising awareness of legal issues for young people. Because a lot of people don't know the ramifications of sexting or the legal age of having sex and all those kinds of things that when you're a teenager you need to know that stuff, but no one tells you. And then this fabulous group, Intuit Africa. Now they are doing so well. Their project is basically, the founder of the not-for-profit Intuit Africa started a school back in January in Kenya, in Africa, for low, socioeconomic kids, for the disadvantaged kids to go to school. And it was this big, great success. They have this beautiful school already. All these kids have got little backpacks with solar panels so that they can study at night, when they don't have electricity at home. And then COVID hits, and they can't go to school anymore. And they can't get an education because they don't have internet access. So we can, or Susan, I say we because I work a lot with Susan, but she can, the kids can get iPads, we can buy them iPads or whatever they need. But how about internet? So they need infrastructure, they need access to internet. So their project that they are actually working on right now is to raise awareness so that internet access can be a human right. And they wanted to get 10,000 impressions for this, like impressions on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, impressions. They wanted 10,000 people to be aware of this. I just found out that they were on the radio a couple of weeks ago and that was like 180,000 people.
Wow.
I'm getting interviewed this week, and it's a national radio program, Life Matters, and that's going to be hopefully, so she's now aiming for 1 million impressions.
Wow.
So that's, this is really happening right here, right now, I'm telling you. And this is the fourth team, Bright Futures. Now, a lot of these girls are refugees, and I found sponsorship for them. It's amazing. And this particular project that these girls are working on is also for the women in the slums in Kenya. They are not able to work because of COVID, the lockdowns. So already, you know how I was telling you that poverty is rising for the first time in 30 years? COVID is terrible. And so these girls, their project is to design face masks, which they then sent to the women in these slums, who then made the face mask with sewing machines and sent them back to us. We've got them, 80 of them, and now the girls are selling them. So who wants to buy one? I know it's not a huge party. Talk to me about that.
I'm interested to have that with the lawyer. No props, Jen.
So that's that's, this is happening right here, right now. We have local Adelaide students working on community challenges facing the globe. It's so powerful and exciting. You can see how excited I am. Yeah. I love it. Okay, so I told you I'd bring you some hope, didn't I? The programs I run are underpinned by 5 principles, which is here you can see the clear leadership framework. So what we are trying to do is to develop our young people to be able to embrace challenges as a leader, to engage with the community, take action and produce results, which results in social change. So we say, right, you need to understand what the challenges are. So they're not blind to it, they know, but we look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals because that's what is a good sort of there's 17 goals, they're big challenges facing the world that the United Nations has actually set out as a blueprint for what are the big challenges facing us. No poverty, zero hunger, climate action, quality education, etc., etc. And so that's what we ask the students to connect with those goals. How am I going for time?
You've got 6 minutes.
Okay. Then we look at the social change model of leadership development. Now that's the model I was using at Curtin University that I see as being very, very powerful. And that is all about developing self-leadership. Who am I? What are my values? What are my strengths? Once you know who you are, you can then work in teams. So then we teach them problem solving, how to deal with conflict in a civil way, how to decision making, creative thinking, project management. There's a lot to learn. They do it theoretically, but then they also put it into practice within the community. Oops. So that's with engaging with community. In my programs, we organise for not-for-profit organisations to pitch problems to the students, and then the students pick a problem that they are passionate about, and they work on that project for a set amount of time, 10 weeks, to affect positive social change within the community. And then at the end we have a big celebration. Yes, still like parties. and that would be on the 20th of October. We're having a big graduation ceremony, so that would be fabulous. I cannot wait for those young people to get acknowledged for the work they're doing, because that's what brings the momentum. That's what they go, oh, they get this feeling of, I am making a difference, I am making a difference, I want to keep making a difference, it feels good, you see? And then they inspire others and others and others, and it becomes this flow-on ripple effect. It's so powerful. And
Jen, is your graduation an open event or is it closed event?
Because of the numbers and COVID and
Yeah,
all that, but one day hopefully I can make it, Australia-wide, online or something. Maybe we can stream it. We'll talk about that later. I think today's kids are a lot like I was that night in Rio. They can see the good and they want to experience the joy of life. But they can also see the bad, and it troubles them deeply. But just like me, I think they also want to do something about it, if only they knew how. The weight of the world is in the hands of our kids. So is their future. Let's make sure they are prepared. Let's develop the leaders of a better world. Who's with me?